Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh once again. And in this juz, bi'idhnillahi al-kareem, as we are preparing this juz, you notice we already have Ramadan finished. We already finished the second third basically, and we have the third one, which is the last one ahead of us. Perhaps we're starting from tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala. But we ask Allah to accept it from each one of us. And the last 10 days are the ones that literally quickly do they leave us, but on top of that are the most busiest compared to any other day, mashallah, tabarakallah. Most importantly, we have to ask Allah for forgiveness. Allahumma innaka afoon tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anna. Ameen ya rabbal alameen. Lakin, there is this phrase that we normally and commonly use, and you hear this a lot when many of us are with our mothers, maybe our our parents. What do they say? La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. There is no plot or plan or strength that which is greater than that of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the best of that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has in His possession is His will. Now, is there any will that supersedes the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Of course not. What we need to realize as mankind, when they think that they can be reliant upon themselves and they are capable of, let's say, attaining wealth or maybe working on a certain project and then not being able to achieve that certain project, what happened next is the fact that they realize that little are they reliant on themselves, but in fact they need Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when does that happen? That only happens when sometimes, let's say you have a certain plan during a day, and then on that day, the plan that you had in mind and you had an entire timetable arranged, the next thing is that you have to abandon everything of what you have in your mind and you have to do that which Allah wants for you. You end up realizing, why does that happen? Only when you realize that the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supersedes our own will as mankind, then your heart attains tranquility and peace, knowing that through that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has planned for you, I am capable of understanding that Allah is the best of planner, and no matter how much I plan, I am not capable of planning exactly as how Allah wants. Just like how we arrange our lives, we want to reach to a certain level in life, but Allah perhaps does not want us to get there, and maybe He has not yet planned for us to reach to that level after a certain time. For us, it's not about thinking, why have I not reached there? Have I not took the necessary steps? Of course we have. We've already tried our best perhaps. Lakin because Allah has not yet willed, it's never going to work and it's never going to happen as we plan. If we plan something to become a certain way, if Allah has a different plan and His will is completely different, His ordainment, we cannot really end up and conclude with the fact that saying we did not do this much, or maybe this is not what happened, and we have a certain mindset. Hasha wa kalla. Because majority of us today, how are we afflicted? We're afflicted with the idea, I have not yet achieved this, I have not reached to this goal. Why haven't fulan and fulan, they have done so and so? This person's life is all upside down. This person's life is fabulous and beautiful. But what we fail to realize is that Allah is the one that put them in that position. They might be striving and working so hard for a certain goal and they don't reach there. But certain people, they don't even have to do so much and they still get to even far and beyond their purpose and their goal that they want to achieve. All of it is the qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like what we learn in this juz about Musa alayhi salam and Fir'aun. There again comes Musa and Fir'aun. But as we said, if you look into the story of Musa alayhi salam's life journey, when Allah provides it in every single part of the Quran, He provides it according to the surah or maybe the flow that Allah wants to provide. Not every single section is similar to the other. If you look at Surah Al-Shu'ara, it's different from that which Allah provided in Surah Al-Naml. And if you look at Surah Al-Naml, it's different from that which Allah provides in Surah Al-Qasas. Because in Surah Al-Naml, for example, Allah talks about certain miracles that He provided to whom? To Musa alayhi salam as evidence against proof against Fir'aun. And in Surah Al-Qasas, Allah does not talk about that. Allah talks about how Fir'aun was preparing himself to destroy every single boy that will be born, so that a boy does not, or a man does not appear to destroy his kingdom and take it away from him, because he loved his position that he wanted, that he was on so much. Now, because he felt that he was a god, and on top of that, he thought that he was the planner of everything and he is the one that organizes and controls his life, he thought by controlling the population of boys from the Israelites, he will be able to safeguard his seat and his kingdom. But little did he know that the man whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained and also planned that he will be the one to take his throne away from him will be of the one who will be from his own household. Isn't he the one who embraced Musa alayhi salam? The wife of Fir'aun is the one, Asiya, isn't she the one that said, وَقَالَتِ امْرَأَةُ فِرْعَوْنَ قُرَّةُ عَيْنٍ لِي وَلَكَ? Seemed like a tranquilizer of our eyes and also a peace to our eyes. لا تقتلوه, do not kill him, meaning him and his soldiers. He shouldn't do that. عسى أن ينفعنا, perhaps this boy might be beneficial to us. أو نتخذه ولدا, or we might assume it to be a child, we might adopt it. وهم لا يشعرون, but Allah switches the dialogue immediately and the flow of the verse and says وهم لا يشعرون. They don't have any idea, nor can they sense it. What can they not sense? What they cannot sense is the idea that the man that Fir'aun was running away from, and the plan of Allah that he was trying to change, in fact, it was coming to life without his realization. But the mother of Musa, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as he says, if he did not tie a knot in the heart of the mother, then Musa would have, his name, his identity would have been exposed, and that would have jeopardized the entire plan. But Allah knows exactly what he's planning. As long as Allah, amrullahi maqdi, la yataghayyar abadan. As long as the judgment of Allah is settled, it's never going to change. It's always going to remain the way it is. Realize in your life, don't hurt yourself and strain yourself and stress yourself with the idea that have not achieved such and such, while you know you are working hard to the best of your ability, and think, why is life like this? Is life fair for everyone? Of course not. And everything that we have, is it because of our own efforts that we've done? Of course not. One might put so much effort and they don't reach to that which they want of their desires. And one might put no effort and Allah brings forth everything of what they want. Just like certain people, they are geniuses and Allah provides them knowledge, whereas others, they have to work hard. I remember I had a student of mine. The difference between us and the student, not student of my student, of a fellow student as myself, we were studying together in a university. He would put 6 to 8 hours of study every single day on only one subject, whereas we have perhaps might put only 3 to 4 hours. And the most surprising thing is that his memorization level was not to the same level as ours, but he would always come number 2. Now, does he have to stress himself and say, why is my life like this? Why am I not a genius? Why am I not capable of doing so and so? No, because that's not in his ability. Allah is the one that has settled that for him and he's provided that to him. So when one realizes that Allah's plan is the best of all plans, you do not stress yourself. In fact, your heart attains tranquility and peace, because once tranquility and peace is removed in your life, then the rest of what remains is only havoc and only harm. Trust me or not, that's the reality of life. One only seeks that which provides them the coolness of the eye, which is satisfaction and knowing that Allah is the one that has preordained everything that he has around him. Now with Musa alayhi salam, he ends up growing in the family. Fir'aun, he did not have any idea that he will still be faced with the man that he was trying to escape. And on top of that, if you look at Musa alayhi salam, Musa commits a felony, and that is a murder, and to them it's regarded as treason at the same time to the Pharaoh. And on top of that, he has to flee the persecution from the hands of Fir'aun, because Fir'aun wanted to do away with him, because he murdered an Egyptian, not an Israelite, an Egyptian. And due to that, as he escapes, he still goes through hardship. His feet are worn off, and on top of that, his situation is not good whatsoever, and far and beyond, he ends up finding himself in the hands of Shu'aib. He did not know who Shu'aib was, but then when Shu'aib welcomed him and took him in his arms, the next thing Shu'aib tells him is that you have escaped an evil folk. And because of that, I would strike a deal with you. You provide me with what I want, a few years of work, and I provide you in return the marriage, the hand of my daughter. And Musa alayhi salam did the best of the two ajalain. Now, people, a lot of the time they ask of knowledge. And now, it's not bad knowledge, it's good knowledge, actually, yes. Lakin, you have to strive for knowledge that literally would help you in the hereafter with your salah, your zakah, your fasting, your hajj, and all of those, or maybe your nikah, muamalat. But far and beyond, if you want to ask of knowledge and you have the time, certain knowledge which you know, even if you know about it, it wouldn't change the situation that you have in terms of your salah, maybe if you're praying wrong, as an example, you notice, then I would advise stay away from that and just focus on that which is necessary. Now, many people ask, between the two of the agreement which Musa alayhi salam struck with Shu'aib, which one did he do? Did he do the 8, or did he do the 10? He did the 10, the best of both. He did the 10, alhamdulillah. That's what he did. But then after he leaves the town of Madian from Shu'aib, and he lives with his family, his Ahl, the next thing that happens is that Musa alayhi salam is summoned by Allah. And as he is summoned by Allah, he is told by Allah, no matter what you did in your life, all of this was already planned. And as it's planned, instead of Musa thinking, what just happened? I just went through hardship, and at the moment Allah is telling me all of that was planned for me to reach to this level. He did not think of that. He submitted to the will of Allah and ensured the fact that as long as Allah has planned, I don't have control of this. I let go of everything in His hands. And as long as Allah is the one that knows what's best and what's not, then He knows what He's doing. And Musa alayhi salam, after submitting to Allah's will and taking that which Allah has given him, regardless of the fear that he had in his heart, as long as Allah promised him, bear in mind, Allah promised him, like, look, Musa, we are going to be there with our ears and our sights. We're going to be observing and listening at the same time, both ways, observing with our eyes and observing with our hearing, so we can know how the situation appears like. And if nothing works out with Fir'aun, then bear this in mind. We're still going to help you. We're going to give you a way out. And Musa alayhi salam, because he knows once he has a little bit of, he becomes a little bit emotional, the next thing that happens, he has a stutter. And then he says, وَأَخِي هَارُونُ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا فَأَرْسِلْهُ مَعِيَ رِدْ أَنْ يُصَدِّقُني. He becomes a cloak, my garment, rid, that which you cover yourself with as you cover on top, so that he can do what? He can speak on my behalf. And Musa alayhi salam with Harun, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, somewhere on the third heaven, he meets, and third and fourth, he meets with Harun alayhi salam, and then he meets with Musa alayhi salam. And as he meets with both of them, if I'm not wrong, somewhere on the third, fourth, or fifth, so one of these, he meets with two of these prophets. Reason being, after Harun is Musa, is because both of them were anbiya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what makes them different is that not only were they prophets, but also they were messengers. They had the Torah with them, and they had a certain revelation in their hands. Now, going to Fir'aun, as Fir'aun debates, we explained about this, as he exchanged words with Musa alayhi salam, he finds himself defeated, and regardless, now rather than letting go and submitting, he decides to come with a verdict of destroying the entire Israelite nation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides Musa a way out, and he destroys Fir'aun, which means that as Fir'aun planned to destroy Musa alayhi salam, Allah already had an ultimate plan of removing the tyrants on the earth. And Allah, as long as He promised the fact that أَنَّ الْأَرْضَ يَرِثُهَا عِبَادِيَ الصَّالِحُونَ, the righteous of Allah's servants are the ones that will dominate and inherit the earth, that will of Allah will always take over the will of mankind. And as Fir'aun was man, and he was a being just like any other being created by Allah, Allah did away with him, and He removed him from his position. His kingdom was also eliminated from him. And on top of that, Allah only humiliated him by preserving his body. فَالْيَوْمَ نُنَجِّيكَ بِبَدَنِكَ لِتَكُونَ لِمَنْ خَلْفَكَ آيَةً. Now, for you and I, as I gave an example of wealth, Allah provides another example which perhaps we might relate to in today's day and age. We hurt ourselves so much, very deep, by saying, Fulan so and so, they have the best of lives. I try so much, but yet I can't live that life. The thing is, we are not the ones that plan. Allah is the one that does so. Because look at Qarun. Qarun, Allah provided him with wealth, which مَفَاتِحَهُ لَتَنُؤُ بِالْعُصْبَةِ أُولِي الْقُوَّةِ. Men that have enough strength, basically you can say they have around 10 to 20 horsepower of strength, 10 of them will at least 10 of them will be able to carry the keys of Qarun's wealth. That much. And for those that were the weak of the servants of Allah, they had scholars around them, but what did they say? They looked at the wealth of Qarun when he literally exposed himself in front of his people, and he was boasting with his wealth, with the finest of clothes and the finest of goods and materials that he had, the best of ride and the most expensive of clothes. In today's terms, you can say LV, Louis Vuitton. You can say perhaps that he was wearing, what else, Gucci, or Imperial Armani, or Imperial Giorgio Armani, any one of those. But he was wearing the most finest of clothes, the riches that he had, perhaps we can say of the billionaires of today. But those who did not understand that Allah already had a different plan, and on top of that, their minds were looking at that wealth and they desired it, thinking that it looked so good, they thought only if we had a fraction of Qarun's wealth. But little did they realize that Allah had a different plan for them. Having wealth, thinking that they would want to work hard and reach to that level, and that's the best thing for them. What they fail to realize is that if Allah planned something and what's best for them is this, they did not submit to it and thought that was the best. But those whom Allah gave them knowledge, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْعِلْمِ, those whom Allah provided them and granted them knowledge, they said, وَيْلَكُمْ, woe upon you, ثَوَابُ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ, the rewards of Allah are better for blessings, liman amana wa amila salihah, for the one who believed in Allah and the one who did righteous deeds. Imagine that. وَلَا يُلَقَّاهَا إِلَّا الصَّابِرُونَ, only those who are patient. But you cannot be patient on the path of Allah if you do not submit to Allah's will. When a person passes away from our family members, if we question why did they pass away, we're just going to hurt our mind, because those people are not going to come back. They're already gone. We have to submit to that fact. And if we understand that, then the next thing that happens is, alhamdulillah, as long as Allah has ordained for them to go, for us is to submit to Allah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, what does he say? Allahumma inni ashku ilayka da'fa quwwati wa qillata hilati wa hawani ala nas. When the people of Ta'if struck him and they threw rocks at him, and they literally harmed him severely, mentally, physically, emotionally, that he bled to his feet. The next thing that he tells Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I am literally raising my complaints and concern to you, Ya Allah. And what is it? Little of strength that I have, and the little of plans that are even contained within myself, Ya Allah. He realized that the plan of Allah is the best, and the plot of Allah is the one that He knows what He's doing. Now, if you finish off looking at Qarun, what happens to Qarun? فَخَسَفْنَا بِهِ وَبِدَارِهِ الْأَرْضِ. That which we saw from Qarun, thinking that it is the best, that's not what it means. These people were supposed to submit to the will of Allah, knowing that this is what Allah wanted for them, and not desiring that which Qarun had. Now, when they saw what happened to Qarun, that's when they realized what Allah planned for me is the best. So when you see something, for example, a simple example as I gave earlier, as we started, if you have a certain timetable for a day or a week or a month or a year, and you end up finding yourself either you fall ill, or maybe a certain job comes up that you have to attend to it, and most importantly, perhaps, let's say, as a simple example, I can tell you, sometimes I plan something, and then one of my relatives, can be my mother, can be my father, can be my own spouse, can be my children. I have to tend to them and take care of them because it's really important. If I don't, they might be harmed, and it's not right. What I have to do is let go of my timetable and do that for them. And when I'm doing it, am I doing it by saying, why is this happening? Sometimes I wonder what's going on, but I'll be honest with you, when I realize the fact that Allah's will comes first, that's when I realize this is what Allah wanted, this is what Allah planned, and He knows what best. Perhaps doing it on that day was not khair. Just like Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, another example, when Allah says, "Inna alladhi farada alayka al-Qur'ana laradduka ila ma'ad." The one who obliged and revealed the Qur'an upon you and provided it to you so that you do what? You deliver it to mankind as much as you could. لَرَادُّكَ إِلَى مَعَادٍ. He will return you back to Mecca. Ibn Abbas has this interpretation of either the return back to Mecca, where he came from basically, or that he will be returned back to Qiyamah, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or he would go back to Jannah. And there are so many other tafasir, but the best of what I found in Al-Qurtubi and also Ibn Kathir, which I would take from Ibn Abbas and Mujahid, they all say that مَعَادُكَ الَّذِي خَرَجْتَ مِنْهُ. the place where you came from, and that is Mecca. Allah promised him that he will return him back to Mecca. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received this revelation, while he was, perhaps I think he was Umrah, if I'm not wrong, he wasn't able to enter Mecca, and revealed this verse for him. And if it's not Umrah, but he reached to Al-Juhfa basically. When he reached to Al-Juhfa, he was saddened with the fact that he desired Mecca, and Allah revealed this verse, and it's known to be a Madani verse. It's known to be a Madani verse, a verse revealed while he was in Medina, time in Medina basically. When Allah revealed this verse for him, He showed him, look, Ya Muhammad, I have planned for you to return back to Mecca. You should not worry about it. But Rasulullah understood the fact that once Allah has promised me that I will return back to Mecca, the ultimate plan of Allah, how it takes place, whatever happens, whenever it happens, as long as He's promised, it's exactly how it's going to happen. And he did not question it, and Allah returned him back to Mecca with a conquest, and also with an upper hand, that he was able to not only live in Mecca as home, but to be the one who was able to put Mecca and Medina together, combine it as one state. Alhamdulillah. That was the plan of Allah, to remove him from Mecca, feel the love of Mecca, desire Mecca, and then return him back to Mecca when the time was right. And it's exactly as how Allah wants to plan my life and your life today. So let's not look at our lives and think that our lives are not the way that we want them to be. In fact, as long as we understand that Allah is the one that plans our lives, we will always submit to His will. The best of submission one can do is submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the best of plan that one can have is understanding that Allah's plan is the best of plans. As Shaykh Muhammad Al-Alawi Al-Maliki rahmatullahi alayhi says, Aslim taslam wa'alam anna al-maqdi ka'in. Aslim, submit, and you will attain tranquility. Your heart will submit itself. Your mind will submit itself, and you will attain peace in your in your heart. On top of that, what would happen is that you will realize that that which is preordained by Allah is forever going to take place, and nothing will become otherwise. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us a people of understanding, and most importantly, may He understand the fact that it's not us who plan, but Allah is the one that plans. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.